Welcome to today's Candidates Forum. I'm Bruce Barton, editor of the Los Altos Town Crier. We have with us today 6 candidates vying for 3 seats on the Los Altos City Council in the November 8th election. There are 2 incumbents running, Jeannie Bruins and Jan Pepper. There are 4 challengers, Nisa Flieger, Alex Glue, Lynette Liang, and Steve Smiley. Each candidate will give a brief introduction and then will pose questions related to issues facing the council. Our goal is to provide equal time between all the candidates. So let's go. We'll start with some brief introductions and we'll go alphabetically. So let's start with you, Jeannie Bruins.
Thank you. Thank you, KMVT and the sponsors for hosting this forum tonight. I'm Jeannie Bruins, Los Altos resident for 29 years. In addition to raising my 2 sons here in this lovely community, I have been a 20-year community leader, as well as having worked for Hewlett-Packard Company, a company that is known for management by wandering around, something that I have practiced during my time on the City Council. I have had the honor and the privilege to serve the Los Altos City Council on the Los Altos City Council and as mayor this year. And I'm excited to be running for re-election. I believe we've put some strong foundation in place and we're experiencing positive momentum. We are delivering on projects to improve safety around our schools. We are delivering on open governance and we're seeing the benefits as more community members are choosing to engage either individually or collectively. As mayor, I've led some changes this year and have put us in the position now to move forward on some key priorities, such as envisioning our downtown and working on a community center plan that our entire community can embrace. At the regional level, I work on issues that affect the quality of life here in Los Altos. I believe all residents experience the impact of the cut-through traffic. I am working actively on VTA's board to deal with these problems. El Camino Real BRT, that's not moving forward. Projects on SR 85 and Foothill Expressway that impact us are going to be moving forward. There's work to be done locally and at the regional level, and I believe my background, experience, and track record, combined with my ability to work collaboratively and respectfully with colleagues and staff alike, positions us all to benefit from maintaining our course and accelerating the momentum. Let's build on that, and I ask for your support November 8th.
Thank you, Jeannie. Now let's go to Lynette Liang.
Oh, thank you. Hello, everyone. I am Lynette Liang, and I have been a resident of Los Altos for the past 20 years with my husband Walter and my 2 sons. I am running for City Council to effectively represent all residents. I want to bring new life to our downtown while preserving village character, strengthen our community and neighborhoods, protect our green spaces, and ensure we get community center facilities that serve everyone. As your councilwoman, I will address the substandard conditions of our buildings, roads, stormwater systems, and parks. Public safety is a primary concern. I will foster teamwork at City Hall, working with council members, commissioners, and residents, and also our city staff to practice fiscally responsible budgeting based on priorities. Through the use of best practices, we can improve our planning, staffing, and decision-making processes with achievable goals, detailed schedules, and measurable objectives. I will make certain that our zoning California density bonus law. Until we have a detailed plan, we'll continue to have piecemeal development reacting to individual projects with variances and special exceptions. This is not fair to residents or developers who deserve clarity. Integrity is the foundation of my principles, and I will treat everyone respectfully to ensure equitable representation for all. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynette. Now we'll hear from Nisa Flieger. So Nisa, take it away.
Thank you, Bruce. Good evening. My name is Nisa Flagger, and I'm running for Los Altos City Council. First, I do want to thank KMTV for hosting us this evening. I'm very excited to be participating in this live forum. I am running because I believe I have the right experience and energy to be an effective leader on council. I graduated from Georgetown Law in 2000, and I am currently a senior lead counsel at HP. Before that, I worked for Santa Clara County as an attorney for over 9 years. And in that capacity, I worked directly with departments and department heads, really learning the nuts and bolts of local government. As an attorney, I analyzed complex issues, drafted and interpreted local laws and policies, collaborated with different groups to move issues forward and reach resolution, and weighed the impact of different options. My husband and I moved to Los Altos to raise our family because we really appreciated the values of Los Altos and that community and family were priorities. I currently serve as the vice chair of the Parks and Rec Commission, and before that, I served as the vice chair of the Grant Writing Committee. Based on my experience as an attorney, local government employee, mom of a young family, vice chair of the Parks and Rec Commission, my involvement in the community, and also volunteering at my son's school, and just the fact that I enjoy serving my community, I know I will be an effective leader on council and will add value. I would be honored to serve Los Altos. Thank you.
Thanks, Nisa. Okay, now Alex Glue.
Hello, my name is Alex Glue and I'm a candidate for Los Altos City Council. My wife Martha and I have lived in Los Altos for 20 years. We began our married life here. We've lived in both North Los Altos and Loyola Corners. We walk our dogs nearly every day and visit the local parks. We show our dogs, and I've seen parks and towns all across the western United States. I know that Los Altos is special. I was born and raised in the San Francisco area, received 2 engineering degrees from Berkeley and 2 more from Stanford, including a doctorate. Clearly, I value education and I am trained to think critically. I started my career with a decade in the semiconductor industry at a small company that grew by 40 times and became a Fortune 500. I've seen uncontrolled growth. For the last 20 years as a licensed engineer, I have run a successful firm now in Mountain View. I do not have any conflicts of interest in Los Altos downtown. I know what small business and building owners experience. My business requires not just engineering knowledge, but finance, management, negotiation, listening, project management, and human development. I benchmark the best practices, then adapt and improve upon them. I can't afford to reinvent the wheel, neither can Los Altos. I interact with a wide variety of people in my work, ranging from executives to attorneys, other engineers and architects, and government personnel. I work with companies ranging from large industrial companies to little, small, high-techs you never hear of. Frequently, I testify as an expert in federal court, the ITC, the PTO, high courts in other countries, and the like. I understand the need for debate. However, we need civility, respect, and negotiated conclusions. That is how the council also must operate. My endorsers, the Silicon Valley Association of Realtors, the Chamber of Commerce, the Silicon Valley Chinese Association, and the Town Crier all feel that my professional and interpersonal skills will serve the city well. I hope that you agree.
Thank you very much, Alex. Right on time. Okay, so let's hear from one of our incumbents, Jan Pepper.
Thank you. Thank you, KMVT, for sponsoring this Los Altos City Council Candidate Forum. I have loved living here for the last 31 years, raised my 2 children here, and have loved serving as your council member for the last 4 years, including your mayor in 2015. For those of you who know me, you know that I'm a good listener and that I will respectfully listen to everyone who has something to share. The more people who are involved in our community, the better input we receive and the better decisions we can make. I initiated and led the adoption of the Open Government Ordinance, This is why you now see the council agenda published in the town crier a week ahead of time and increased resident participation at council meetings. This ordinance also requires that story poles be installed for new commercial buildings, which provides a huge visual alert of the height and mass of proposed projects and encourages public input before decisions are made. I'm also proud that I led the effort for Los Altos to join the Silicon Valley Clean Energy Authority, which will allow us to reach our climate action goals 3 years early. Professionally, I have worked in the energy and utility industry for the last 30 years, trying to make our energy supply cleaner and greener. I am the new CEO of Peninsula Clean Energy, the community choice energy provider for San Mateo County, and we will be delivering electricity that is cleaner and greener and cheaper than PG&E starting next week. And as a CEO, I know how to manage organizations, set and meet budgets, and deliver results. My education includes a bachelor's degree in civil engineering and an MBA, both from Stanford University. Many people have told me that they appreciate that I ask the hard questions at our council meetings. You can continue to have confidence in me that I will ask good questions and make sure that we receive the answers and services we deserve. I will continue to promote...
Thank you, Jan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so moving on, we'll go to our first question of the night.
Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One
Did I
more.
forget you, Steve? How could we forget
could you forget?
I know. Well, you're still smiling through all of that,
Yeah.
so good for you. All right, Stephen.
So I am Steve Smiley, and I'm running for Los Altos City Council. Thank you, KMTV, for hosting this forum this evening. I'm a Los Altos resident and homeowner for over 26 years, and I'm running for City Council to provide leadership to make sure we protect our village character of Los Altos by growing smartly. My personal life, my wife Kathleen and I were married in Los Altos. She also is my campaign manager. We have an 11-year-old daughter, Caitlin, who attends our very fantastic local public schools. I'm actively involved in volunteering, serving as executive council and executive board on the local public school, church, and other community nonprofit organization. I have a very diverse education with a Bachelor of Science in Engineering, a Master's of Business Administration, and a Juris Doctor of Law. Professionally, I'm Vice President of Program Management and Contracts at L3 Communications. I negotiate and approve all contracts at L3. I'm also on the Ethics Steering Committee at L3 Communications. My core strengths are communication skills and ability to connect with people, financial and business expertise and decision making, and leadership based on values of integrity, accountability, and respect. My goals if elected: 1, to move forward on a vibrant downtown and connected civic center with a holistic approach. 2, to promote a diverse business downtown that caters to young families. 3, being green, ensuring development needs to be environmentally friendly. And 4, improved collaboration between town, school, district, commissions, and community groups. My wife and I plan to spend the rest of our lives in Los Altos, and I want to use my core strengths and goals to move Los Altos forward and grow smartly. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Now we'll tackle some questions. So our first one is the following. What do you consider to be the top 3 issues facing the city, and how would you address them on council? We'll start with you, Janice Pepper.
And how much time do I have to answer that?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. I think the top 3 issues that are facing our community are: 1, community engagement; 2nd is traffic safety; and 3rd is downtown visioning. As far as community engagement, I worked on this during my first term, and unfortunately the majority of the council decided not to move forward on this, but I feel that we need to reach out to all of the people in our community, go out to the neighborhoods and talk to people in the neighborhoods, the city staff, council members, commissioners, so that we understand what people are interested in. If we have good community engagement and good communication, then we can make better decisions and people will feel that they're being heard. The second item is downtown visioning. We have been talking and looking at downtown visioning for a long time, and now we're finally getting started on this, and I'm excited that, again, we will be able to hear the input of our community members as to what we want downtown. And then the last is traffic safety. I know I reversed the orders here, but one of the things that I think we need to do is form a complete streets committee. So we have the transportation portion of our commissions combined with the Planning Commission. I'd like to see that moved with our Bicycle and Pedestrian Commission so that we have a complete streets commission that looks at auto, bicycle, and pedestrian safety and traffic all at the same time, so that we make sure that all of those different modes of transportation are safe and effective for our community.
Thank you, Jan. Steve, top 3 issues facing the city, how would you address them?
So I would look at my top issue facing the city is actually the development of downtown along with the Civic Center. I think that we need to take a look at that with a holistic approach in regards to design, development, and funding to make sure that we have collaboration from all of the groups that would be using the downtown and the Civic Center, such as families with children, seniors, non-seniors, and toddlers. I'd like to reach out to all the constituents that would be also part of the decision process and not alienate them by ruling out their ideas, but looking at an effort going forward that takes into account all of their requirements and their needs. Second, looking at the vibrancy downtown. I think it's important when we talk about the development of downtown, putting that vibrancy back into it. Some of the presentations that have been given lately identify that we have a lack of people walking downtown, and we have to increase the number of people walking downtown to increase that vibrancy. So to do that, we have to look at, as Jan pointed out, a complete streets approach to make sure we have the streets downtown that people can walk, that they can ride their bike, that they can bring their family to make that a complete street for downtown. I think we have to look at, with the internet coming along, the number of retail shops have been going down substantially. And so I think we have to take a look at that and take a hard look at maybe providing some Class A office space to get some high-end renters down there. That will help the vibrancy downtown.
Okay, Steve, thank you. All right, Alex.
The city, I think, first needs to work on engagement and consensus building. Whichever problems we choose to focus on, we need to be able to function as a community. The City Council needs to provide leadership and be able to engage the 100 or so non-elected leaders within the city to galvanize support within the community so that we can actually solve a large problem or two. We also need to focus on basic decision-making and good management and setting of priorities. For example, we do plan on being here for the long term. Our long-term budget needs to support things such as proper road maintenance and storm drains. And then thirdly, we need to manage regional growth. We need to manage the impact it has upon us because it manifests itself in many different ways. Obviously, it manifests itself as traffic, but it also manifests itself as additional children in the school system, which taxes the school system and puts pressure on land requirements for the schools. It puts pressure upon pedestrian and bicycle needs, and it also puts pressure on pricing, which has an interesting effect on the downtown properties. So just to summarize that, we need to work on consensus building and engagement with the community as a leadership team. We need to look at our prioritization and management of the key decisions and how we engage and plan. And thirdly, we need to deal specifically with the many facets of regional growth that are affecting us.
Thank you, Alex. Okay, Nisa, 3 top issues facing the city. How would you address them?
So the 3 top issues I believe that are facing the entire Los Altos city are 1, traffic safety, 2, building bridges in our community, and 3, the facilities, city facilities. And I'll start with traffic safety. One of my goals is to make traffic safety a priority for a city. And when I talk about traffic safety, I focus on 3 things as a city council we can do to address it. The first is reinstate either a traffic commission or a traffic committee that will focus on the issues impacting Los Altos currently related to traffic safety and traffic calming measures, and make recommendations to City Council about how we can address those immediately. My second recommendation related to traffic safety would be to look back at the traffic calming toolkit that was developed, I think, back in 2008, and see how and where we can implement some of the traffic calming devices that were recommended and implemented actually around Allman School. And the third thing, you always talk about the 3 E's when you talk about traffic safety: education, enforcement, and engineering. We need to look at education, especially starting at the high school level, where we have our teenagers just getting their driver's license and are very excited to get out there on the road. But we want to make sure that they understand and are educated about the importance of traffic safety. The second issue is building bridges in our community. When I've been precinct walking and talking to so many people, and there is a perceived divide in our community, unfortunately, on many issues. If I am elected as a council member, I will take lead role in building those bridges. I will use my experience of collaborating with different groups, different personalities, different interest groups, and bring those groups together. And I think what's key to that is open communication and listening. And then the third thing would be facilities. I attended the City Council.
Okay, Nisa, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Bruce.
But we're past the limit. Okay, Lynette?
Oh, thank you. These are the issues that I have highlighted and will focus on. That is public safety. I will work with the police to reduce burglaries and mail theft. I will reinstate the traffic commission, and I have been saying that throughout my campaign. And pushing for, once again, addressing the 3 E's: enforcement, engineering, and education for all school districts. Our planning issue, our downtown visioning community center solutions, both north and south, are defining our future for the next 20 to 50 years. And we cannot keep stalling. We need to move forward on this and include participation of the residents at every step. Our maintenance, we have nearly $37 million of deferred maintenance on our streets, facilities, and parks. I think it's important for us to allocate the funds to move these projects forward. Our commissions. I will clearly define commission charters to empower and respect citizen volunteers. I definitely feel that our citizens need to have more power as they participate and become involved. We should not keep holding them back, and we should show them the respect by having them present their reports once they have completed them. Thank you.
And Jeannie.
So I think for me, the top 3 are, first, I think we need to focus in on some long-term planning. We have a council of 5 council members and an election every 2 years, with that opportunity to change at least 2, if not 3, members of council. With that comes the ability or the opportunity for reshuffling and trying to reset priorities. I think we will be better equipped to do so if we have a long-term plan. The long-term plan needs to be based on solid financials. It needs to cover what our forecast is for our revenues, and then look at 3 key areas: our day-to-day operational, balanced with our what we call capital improvement programs, which basically will allow us to keep our roads and our facilities in a state of good repair, and to look at our strategic initiatives. So that long-term plan can guide us and help us set a course and stay steady on that course. Second, I would look at the preservation of the character of Los Altos. This is a real challenge. We all want to preserve the character that we love and care about in Los Altos. However, we are faced with a couple of different things that are putting pressure on us. One is managing the growth around us, as well as the smart growth that we need to have in our community. In addition, we have a changing demographic. and we need to listen and learn how to meet everybody's needs collectively as we look at that. Third is we have some quality of life issues that need to be addressed. My colleagues up here have highlighted a couple of them, which deal around traffic. For me, traffic has two major issues associated with it. One is local, what we can control, and again, with a long-term plan and with what we are doing today, we can continue to address the safety issues associated with the local control traffic issues. But equally important is that we are subject to all of the economic growth that happens around us. We are part of a greater region. So regionally, we need to continue to work on the transportation issues around us, and this is something that I personally have been driving on.
Thank you very much, Jeannie. Okay, next question. So, as you all know, housing is a major issue, especially affordable housing, the lack thereof, throughout our region. And Los Altos doesn't live in a bubble, and so we are part of the whole issue with addressing housing. Do you think that the city should push for more condos, rental housing, affordable housing? Why or why not? Who wants to go? How about you, Alex?
2 minutes. Okay. I believe that low-income housing is best served by rental housing because it stays in the pool of low-income houses. There are a couple of ways to go about doing it. I think one way we have in place that works well for Los Altos Hills and could work well for Los Altos is to expand the secondary living units. One can build a secondary living unit standalone at 15,000 square foot lot. I'm on the Design Review Commissions, so I have to be familiar with these. At 13,000 square feet, one can build a mother-in-law unit, a unit that's within your main residence. And these are all earmarked now as BMRs, below market rate housing. We could expand that to 12,000 feet, move it down a little bit as an experiment and see how much housing that loosens up. This would create housing for teachers, first responders, police and fire that are vital to our community.
Thank you. Jan.
I believe the city should push for more affordable housing. I think it's part of our responsibility as good members of the community. And I think there are multiple paths for getting there. I agree with Alex that rental housing is something that would be more available and maybe more affordable for a greater number of people. And I think it's important that we have an economically diverse population. We need to have our population composed of people who are teachers, who work for our city, for service workers, as well as for those people who work in the high-tech industry and make great salaries. So I think there are a number of paths we can go down, as Alex mentioned, certainly looking at secondary units on lots that can handle those is certainly one way to go. Trying to work with organizations who build affordable housing and looking to see if there might be some way to leverage the assets that the city has, such as maybe some of our city-owned parking areas. I'm not necessarily advocating for this, but I'm thinking that we should look at it to see if it might be a possibility, to see if we can use those areas to put more affordable housing in and replace that parking with underground parking. I think it's just, it's just the right thing to do to make sure that we have housing here that's affordable and that all the people who want to live in this lovely community that we have, that it's available to them.
Thank you, Jan. Lynette?
Thank you for asking that. I definitely support affordable housing, and I will support accountable affordable housing by updating our city zoning codes that balance the need for our housing concerns. Part of affordable housing is to allow people to remain in their homes. 90% of our seniors would love and would prefer to age in place. So it's important that we ensure programs as well to make sure our seniors can afford to stay in their home. It's not necessarily the most affordable thing for them to move into a senior care facility. So seniors need engagement, safety, and opportunities to contribute. I think we need to create programs and city policies to reflect these goals. So I would definitely support affordable housing, increasing percentages in our new developments if possible, and it's something as we as a new council would all have to work towards. So thank you, and I do support affordable housing.
Okay, thanks, Lynette. How about you, Jeannie?
So I think it is an excellent question. This is a problem that we have in the entire region, entire Bay Area, and all communities need to do what they can to increase the inventory of affordable housing. At a local level, I think we need to look at, and the council just last night agreed to take action next Tuesday as we look at the greatest opportunity for us is looking at multifamily residential on El Camino corridor. It provides a great opportunity to merge the housing as well as transportation solution. It allows for good land use planning. In Los Altos, we actually are more progressive than some of our neighboring cities in how our zoning codes are written today. Our zoning codes are written in a way that in order for our developers to take advantage of the density bonus, they must produce at minimum 3 units to earn that. We need to look at how we can continue to work with the developers to encourage it. We've been fortunate. Every development of multifamily homes has produced the minimum required number of affordable units. We need to get creative, as Alex pointed out, in terms of looking at our quarter-acre lots and what we can do to provide affordable housing there as homeowners as well to contribute to this. It's important for us to accommodate different economic levels, different needs, because it's integral to the fabric of our community. It's what makes our community strong. I think about my children growing up. They were fortunate to walk the dog and run into their teachers. Today, those children don't have that ability because teachers cannot afford to live in our community. So we need to do something, and we need to look a little bit harder on this, but we also equally need to participate at the regional level and look at supporting transit-oriented developments, and hopefully we can get everybody to support Measure A on the ballot, which is a great opportunity for us regionally to make a difference on affordable housing.
Thanks, Jeannie. Steve?
So I don't think there's any question that we do have a housing shortage here in Los Altos, and the 2 primary ways to offset that is with second unit housing and then also the low-income housing on new development. I think several of the candidates already hit on the possibility of lowering the minimum lot size for the second units. I think that's an excellent idea. Definitely consider that going forward. And the question on low-income housing, as Jeannie pointed out, that is a requirement on new development. So I think the question is where we put it. Recently there's been a lot of talk about the buildings and the height sizes down on El Camino, but I think that's exactly where we'd like to put it, down on El Camino. It kind of balances out with the taller mountain view structures that are right across the street on El Camino. So definitely not a question of housing shortage. Where it should go, I think, is down there on El Camino.
Okay, great. And Misa?
Like all the other candidates have said, yes, I think as a city and as a council, we should definitely seek opportunities for affordable housing in Los Altos. And there are many ways we can do it. We have heard a few already. In addition to new development where we encourage affordable housing, we should also enforce our multifamily affordable housing ordinance. We also have a Los Altos housing element, which also encourages the city to look for opportunities for affordable housing. And so if I'm fortunate enough to be on council, that is definitely something that I would support. Other options include the second dwelling unit, which other candidates have already addressed, so I won't repeat it. But as part of the process, we should also look at funding opportunities related to affordable housing. We can look at the general fund, the city's general fund, but also fees. Nonprofit organizations, other public agencies provide funding related to affordable housing. And so I think it's in the best interest of our community to look at other funding sources. Affordable housing, as many people have said, will benefit benefit the entire community, specifically first responders, teachers, seniors. And that is the fabric of our community. It's something that we all care about and value in our community. So I support everything that has been said about seeking opportunities for more affordable housing in Los Altos.
Great. Thank you, Nisa. Okay, so there's been a few issues over the years where there's been a lot of discussion, but really little action. One example of that is the planning surrounding Loyola Corners, kind of the stepchild that gets lost or forgotten in the discussion with downtown and what to do about its future. So, as you know, there was a specific plan that was written in 1990, and it was put on the shelf essentially, and it's been revised recently by the current council. What do you consider to be some key issues regarding this historic shopping district, and what can be done, and what would be the proper use for its development going forward? There are things such as height limitations that have been talked about. So basically, I want to hit on each one of you on what you think of progress regarding planning for Loyola Corners and what you would like to see happen. Lynette, let's start with you.
With Loyola Corners, we have an RFP out, and we're waiting for Jennifer Quinn to present those results. Until we get more information back, I think the same problem we have with Loyola Corners is the same problem we have with our downtown. We have to address our building codes. We have to make sure it's fair for everyone. We want to make sure that it's clear for both the residents as well as the developers. So I think it would be helpful to make sure we update our building codes and our zoning codes so that we can have some consistency, all around. So definitely we need to help make people understand what we are expecting from the developers, and that way when people see what they can have in their neighborhoods, you won't have such reactions to developments. I think it's a whole educational process for everyone involved, and it's helping to help everyone understand what they are going to get in their neighborhood. We want neighborhoods and developments that are going to bring people to these vibrant corners. We want to support every shopping area, whether it's South Los Altos as well as North Los Altos. But we want everyone to succeed. We want a vibrant downtown, we want a vibrant Loyola Corners, we want a vibrant Foothill Shopping Center down at Homestead. We expect the same for all our shopping and commercial areas. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynette. Alex, what do you think?
You'll hear this now probably for the first time. I think we've really been missing the boat on Loyola. Loyola shouldn't be thought of in isolation. Loyola should be thought of with Rancho Shopping Center as well as the medical zoned area that is adjacent to it. If you look at Rancho, the medical area, and Loyola, you actually have a fairly large zone including already office, retail, and other uses. I think really the plan needs to decide first and foremost whether it's going to be a functional business area or whether it's going to just serve the locals of Loyola. I live in Loyola Corners, although I'm far enough away not to be conflicted on it. I think it would be best served by really tying all of those regions together and creating another functional unit in sort of mid-south Los Altos, something that could perhaps compete a bit with downtown.
Great, thank you. Jan Pepper.
Thank you, Bruce. Loyola Corners is an interesting place. As you noted, the specific plan was put together in the 90s, And we have hired a consultant to update that specific plan. That was supposed to have been done about 6 months ago, and we are still waiting to see that update. So things have stalled on that. Part of it is because the new bridge was built across Foothill Expressway that comes into Loyola Corners, and that's creating different traffic issues. The traffic into Loyola Corners, because of that bridge, is now kind of funky and doesn't quite go into the streets as it used to. So we need to look at those different traffic issues. Is that creating more traffic by having that bigger bridge? And what's the impact there? Can it be safe for bicyclists and pedestrians and not just cars? There has been development proposed by the property owners there, and the City Council put a moratorium on that development while we're waiting for the results of the specific plan. So it's important that this get moved along quickly before that moratorium ends, and so that we can have reach some consensus before that moratorium ends, and give the right kind of signals to the development community and to the neighborhood. Additionally, the neighbors have been coming out in force. They do not want a lot of development there in Loyola Corners. They're pretty much against a lot of high density building there. So we really have a lot of discussion and work to do to really look at where both sides agree, and then try to figure out where they don't agree, where we can come together in some kind of consensus that hopefully makes as many people as happy as possible.
Thank you, Jan. Jeannie?
Yeah, let me give just a little bit of background. In Los Altos, we went through a period of time where we had very little commercial development. And as a result, what we had was an environment where we were trying to stimulate some of this development. Then all of a sudden, what we find is in our 7 business districts, such as Loyola Corners, a development coming forward that still is coming in with that mindset of, we don't have enough development, so let's try and encourage it. But that's not what we wanted. And besides that, we have the specific plan. So that particular project did get stopped by this council, and in its place, as Jan mentioned, we put in a moratorium. The primary point in putting the moratorium in is it's time to have that discussion to determine what our needs are, the evolving needs. Do we want a vibrant business district? What would that mean? Is it still part of the neighborhood business district, where it's really there to meet the immediate needs of a lot of the neighbors, not necessarily a destination for everybody outside of the community? And so what we're doing is we are actively working on that plan, and council gave direction to say we really needed to understand circulation. So we stalled it ourselves by saying we needed a traffic study to understand the circulation and what various scenarios would do with that. Plus, because as I mentioned, we have a booming economy around us, we were challenged in terms of trying to find an economic person who could come in and do the analysis. Loyola Corners is very small, so it's been hard to find someone with bandwidth. We believe we have that now. As we look at circulation, economy, and we look at what we can do, I think we will be able to get our specific plan up to date to meet the needs of our community. And I'm looking forward to that coming now that we have the right players in place.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Jeannie. Stephen?
Well, compared to the downtown development and the Civic Center, Loyola Corners has definitely gone under the radar. But Loyola Corners is on the top 4 priority list for the City Council. As I've been canvassing the neighborhoods, specifically around Loyola Corners, as Jan indicated, the challenges are going to be that some of the neighbors in that area, they don't want the huge structures, the huge buildings. And so I think it's going to be a challenge looking at the architecture for Loyola Corners to make that an area to have a neighborhood shopping area that they'll be able to enjoy and that they'll want to have.
Thank you. Nisa?
Thanks, Bruce. As Jeannie and Jen have already mentioned, City Council gave direction, excuse me, to update the specific plan related to Loyola Corners. And when I heard about that, I agreed that that was a very important first step. But once we have that specific plan updated, then as a council, we need to review that plan to ensure it really reflects what we need in that area of the city. Loyola Corners is one of our 7 shopping districts. We should support all our shopping districts in Los Altos, but we also need to recognize, because of the location of Loyola Corners in a neighborhood, that we have to consider the impact on the neighbors, the impact on the neighborhood, and also the impact that traffic will have once we put such a specific plan in place. Part of the question asked about building height, that goes back to, again, the downtown discussion about, how tall should the buildings be. I think that will involve bringing in the right experts, again, looking at the updated specific plan, but also engaging the community and the neighbors in Loyola Corners to get their input, because they live there. They're the ones who most likely will be using any new business entities in that shopping district. And so we want to make sure that they will support those business entities, because that will benefit the entire community. The last thing I wanted to touch on was the fact that we have all these different shopping districts in Los Altos, and I've been to Loyola Corners, I've walked around, and I realized that someone who has lived in Los Altos for a few years, I rarely go to the other shopping districts. But as a Los Alton, I do care about what happens in those shopping districts, because it will benefit the entire community, even if I never go there, and even if only the people who live in that neighborhood go to Loyola Corners. So as a city council, I think we should support the development there and balance that development with the interests of the neighbors. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Misa. Okay. Are you folks ready for the issue of downtown parking? That's another issue that's been kicked around many, many years, lots of talk. Everybody's got an opinion on it. There are some people who consider that there is no parking problem downtown. Other people think there's an extreme parking problem downtown, and people are divided about how to address it. Do you see downtown having a parking problem in 2016? And if so, what do you see as the right way to go about a solution or solutions? Let's see. Let's start with Steve.
So if you've ever gone down at lunch on a Friday or any days during the week, you would say, yes, definitely there's a parking problem. My wife and I just went down there this last Friday, and it took us 15 minutes to find a parking spot. So I think to approach that, I reviewed the opportunity study that was done back in 2009, and it had some suggestions in the opportunity study that I think we could take a look at. The first is management of the parking spots, and that would be looking at possibly restriping some of the surface parking lots to get some additional parking spots. The second would be looking at possibly changing the time requirements that you're allowed to park. We could modify that, shorten that duration a little bit, see how it works. These are some of the simple things that we could do before we take some of the major efforts of putting in maybe a parking garage. I was at a Lacey presentation a couple weeks ago, and although it was a good presentation for private-public funding, to do something like that, I don't know that we want to jump right into that approach, but I think we want to take some of the simpler approaches, and including having employees maybe parking in a separate lot to free up some parking spaces in front of the businesses downtown.
Thank you, Steve. Misa.
Thanks, Bruce. So I echo what Steve just said about, it really depends on how you define problem. When I go downtown with my family, or when my neighbors and friends go downtown, if it's not during, peak times or on the weekends, or if there's an event, then it's pretty easy to find a parking spot. But if you define problem in an economic development context, then we do have a parking problem. And this resulted from things that have happened over the past several years. We recently had the beautification project in Los Altos downtown, and we lost some parking spaces to that. At First and Main, we used to have that open lot. It's no longer there. We have parking regulations in Los Altos, and I'll be the first to admit that they're not clear and they're not applied consistently. And as a result of that, in the past, we've had city staff make waivers and exceptions when we had new business entities coming in, not meeting the required parking ratio. So for all those reasons and other reasons that, parking committee that was commissioned by the City Council found in their research, we do have a parking problem in that context. And I think there are many ways we can address it. The first is we could look at simple things like restriping, whether or not it makes sense for us to restripe the current parking spaces. Would that allow for more parking spaces, and how would that affect the movement of traffic in Los Altos? We can also look at whether or not we need a parking structure. That's been one of the proposals. I like to say you have to think long term. We now have these self-driving cars. We have Uber. I'm a big proponent of carpooling, biking, walking. And so with all those things in place, we have to think long-term and whether or not we really would need a parking structure. Or are there things we can do? For example, we can review and revise our parking regulations to make them more realistic and aligned with economic development.
Thank you, Nisa.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Lynette.
Hi. Parking, addressing our parking issue, I think we took a great step in establishing the Downtown Parking Committee. They were doing great studies. They brought forth a great report. Unfortunately, we were not able to see the whole entire report, but we hear about it. I think it's important to have leadership such as that committee and continue to bring forth ideas and to work with the council. I don't think that council needs to do all the work themselves or continue to hire consultants. I think it's important for us to enhance the walkability and bicycle pedestrian ways en route to downtown Los Altos and all throughout Los Altos. We want to encourage that type of public transportation as well, use of public transportation, and possibly encourage looking at shuttle opportunities such as Mountain View and Stanford. I think if we can collaborate with these other communities, I think that would be great. We need to empower our citizens to become more involved and not discourage them. So until we give our citizen community more appreciation, we can't get people more involved into participating in more committees and commissions that would be beneficial for all of Los Altos. Thank you.
Alex?
We do have a parking problem, but not in the ways that you've heard yet. If you look at the parking codes and applied them to the current businesses, best estimates are we'd be short 1,300 spots. However, it's probably not real. What we have is a parking code problem. It puts almost every project into variance. What that means is that a developer or an investor cannot come into Los Altos and have any idea of what's going to happen with their parking situation. It forces city staff to effectively be very creative applying the rules, which isn't fair. What we need are a fair set of rules that are clear and understandable and can be enforced universally. Without that, it will cripple the redevelopment of the downtown. We need a parking in lieu program. Most of the businesses are 2 or 3 cars wide. They were never meant to have a lot of parking. The parking is to be in zones. The parking areas were originally septic tanks given to the city to manage as parking spaces. So the city, whether they like it or not, is in the middle of the parking problem. They're in the parking business. Land at $20 million an acre, best estimate, is very valuable. So we need to protect this resource and use it. Restriping, if it gave us a few hundred extra spots quickly and bought us some time, we should do. I'd be happy to paint the first stripe myself. Employees should probably park farther away. And I've never seen a mom get out of an Uber with 3 kids in a stroller in downtown Los Altos yet. I'm sure it will happen someday. Our habits haven't changed that quickly yet.
Thank you, Alex. Jeannie?
Okay, I think your fundamental question was whether or not we have a parking problem, and if so, kind of what is it and what can we do? I am going to agree with Alex in terms of, yes, we have a parking problem, but what is our parking problem? So first, you have it from the customer or the visitor's point of view. If you are a customer or a visitor visiting our downtown during that lunch hour, the 11 to 2, yes, it's very challenging. And when it's challenging, it discourages people from coming back and spending their money in our downtown. But we also have a different problem. We also have the problem in terms of our employees downtown. Employees like to park right in front, therefore not freeing up the spaces for the clients. That's a parking management problem. And third, we have a parking problem in terms of what role parking plays in our ability to have economic development. And that is, each of these problems are solved in a different way. One would be in terms of increasing inventory. Another one is to decrease your requirement for developing parking so you can get the economics. These are conflicting with one another. So in putting together the parking committee, because I worked with Mr. Mordeau on doing that, our goal was to look at all the different dimensions of parking and to take the work and inform the visioning that we're going to be doing here, to try and understand which of these makes a difference as we figure out what we want our downtown to be in terms of the economic vitality, in terms of maintaining its character, etc. So it is a balancing act. We are going to benefit from trying to attack this as part of our downtown visioning and developing our plan. And as far as the work of the committee,
I'm sorry,
okay, that's fine. Thank you.
we're at the time. Jan.
Thank you. So is there a parking problem? It depends. Probably 50% of the people say there is, and 50% of the people say there isn't. Just like we look at downtown development, 50% of the people think there's too much development, and 50% think they don't. So we need to get to some consensus here. Where are we all in agreement? But as a number of the candidates have mentioned, there was the parking committee, and we have yet on the council to get the final report from that parking committee. And I know some of the things that might be in there include restriping, parking in lieu programs, looking at different parking ratios. And all of this is expected to be fed into the downtown visioning study. So I think it's really important that we are able to see the results of this parking committee. I am anxiously awaiting their presentation. And this is a perfect example of utilizing the great talent and expertise that we have in our community to put together a very extensive study without having to spend tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars for a consultant. So I support what candidate Ng said about respecting our community members and building on what they have done for us. So there's lots of different options. I personally do not support building a multi-story parking structure, above ground parking structure in the downtown. I don't think that matches with our village character. However, I would support an underground parking solution, and the proposal put forth by the Los Altos Community Investment organization that we heard a few weeks ago to have a park with parking underneath in the downtown sounds like a really interesting thing, and I'm looking forward to that. But we also do need to think long-term, as Nisa mentioned. You know, what kind of parking do we really need in 10 years? Are we all going to be using self-driving cars, and we just tell the car to go away and it doesn't need to park? So, you know, we need to look at what our current needs are and also look into the future. Thank you.
Okay, so as you all know, this past council put forth a bond measure for rebuilding the community center that was soundly rejected by Los Altos residents. So I guess basically, what is the message in the wake of that that decision that the residents have given our city leadership, and where do you see community center plans going from here? Does that make sense to all of you? Okay, so Jan, let's start with you.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd ask me to hit this one first. Who gets to be the first one?
I'm happy to. If you
No, I'm actually okay about it. So let's talk about the community center. The council went ahead with the bond measure last year because there were many people in the community who urged us to do this. We'd been talking about this for years, and when Jeannie and I ran in 2012, there was a different proposal that was out there, nicknamed the Taj Mahal, and people were against that. So we focused on what is it that will benefit the community most, which would be the community center only rather than the whole civic center plan, and so that's what we went after. And we did a lot of community outreach with that effort. But it went down in flames. So fine. I think what we need to focus on is what can we learn about that? What are the lessons learned from that effort? And some of the things that I think we learned is first get the right consultants on board. For a project this big, we can't use our city staff because we don't have that kind of expertise on staff. We need to bring a consultant on board. And I don't think we had the right consultant on board to really figure out what we needed to do for the community center. We used the same consultant that had done the first plan, and of course, they're going to say that what they proposed the first time was correct. The other is to figure out better ways to reach more people in our community, and that's why community engagement is so important to me, and I think we really need to focus on that for any project that we're looking at. We really need to make sure that we use any and every type of community engagement approach we can. And third, I think we need to look for additional partners. We need to be reaching out to Los Altos Hills. We need to be talking to philanthropists who may want to help fund part of the project. We need to look at other funding opportunities, such as borrowing some money just for the city, using some of the money that we have in our funds. We have a lot of money on hand, and making sure that we have overturned every rock before we go forward.
Thank you, Jan. Alex.
Yes. This question begs process. What is the process by which we engage everybody in Los Altos? I'm going to start by borrowing from the Silicon Valley, and that is lean development. You put out things visually, you put them on the web, you let people look at them, and you get people to shoot at it. You fail early and you fail often cheaply. One way to do that is with web-based surveys, which I've spoken about. Send an index postcard to everybody in town who's registered to vote, give them a number. They can go to a website, put in their number. That way you know that you've gotten people from the Highlands and South Los Altos too. And you put up 3D models that people can look at. They need to see the stuff. And what you'll do is you'll shake out and you'll find out what people don't like. And these are the kind of things we need to do early, we need to do often. We need to train some of our staff to help with this. We need to develop our staff better. We complain about the staff a lot in the city, but we need to take care of them and give them skills they may be lacking right now. This also speaks to management. If all the surveys showed that the bond was going to fail and they did, why was it put forward? It's a good question.
Excellent, thank you. All right, Stephen.
So yeah, no doubt Measure A failed hugely. When you look at the numbers, 75% said no, 25% yes. Looking what backs that up and the complaints that I hear when I canvass the neighborhoods is that there was not enough collaboration with South Los Altos. There was not enough collaboration with the Los Altos School District, and there was not enough collaboration with the seniors. And I look at the numbers, you look at the breakout. Los Altos School District represents about 35% of the voters. Seniors about 20%, and South Los Altos about 20%, and that adds up to your 75% of no's. So going back to the process and make sure there is collaboration with all of the individuals that would need to be represented to actually make this pass.
Okay, Stephen, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Misa.
Thank you. So I've been precinct walking, and I also talked with a lot of members of the community even before I decided I was going to run about why Measure A failed. And there are different reasons, but one answer is consistent, and that is people felt like they didn't know what they were voting for. And so I know Jan spoke about the fact that they did try to engage the community and they felt like they engaged the community, but the community did not feel engaged. And so going forward, we need to have a process in place that has clear objectives, that will utilize smart and creative techniques. So not just one technique where you hold meetings and you invite the community to come to that one meeting or few meetings, but you go out into the community, you go where they are, you go to their meetings, you go to schools, to find out what they want to see in their community center. We also need to make sure that whatever tools we're using, we can validate participation. Whether they're apps, web-based tools, whatever it is, we need to validate that we're getting a wide representation and also a deep representation of Los Altos. We also need to communicate better about how this community center, even though it's located in what's termed North Los Altos, we need to communicate in all corners of the city why having a community center there will benefit the entire community. And the last thing I wanted to add to that was we need to make sure that whatever plan we put in place, we can justify the cost. Another reason why Measure A failed was it was a $65 million bond. And people, again, didn't understand why it was that much and how that money would be spent. I think before we go out to the voters again to ask for any funding to support a community center, we need to do our own homework as a council to figure out if there are other funding opportunities out there. Or maybe we should do a phased approach. If currently we have $20 million in unassigned funds that we can use, then maybe that's what we should use
Nisa.
first. Thank you.
Vice
Jeannie.
Chair. So let's see. I don't believe there's any one single message that we heard. This was a very complex thing, and we gave every opportunity to have this thing fail on many, many fronts. So let me start with saying what I think we did extremely well, and that is the outreach that we were doing for the first phase of this, which was really trying to define the needs and defining a solution. Then we failed miserably. And what I mean by that is once we had a solution where we had a lot of engagement and we went through a lot of different methodology and such, we failed as a council to go out on a listening tour, to take the solution out to our residents and test it on them, get the feedback, etc. And that would have shown us where we needed to provide more information. For all of us that are in the tech side of things, the engineering side of our brains, the scientific, we needed the data. We needed to understand why we couldn't invest in just rehabilitating what we already had. For the people who are more the other side of the brain, we wanted to see the visuals. We wanted to understand the experience. We wanted to see something. We did not deliver on either of those. And so in terms of going forward, I think the key thing for me is making sure we take something out into the community, various ways to deal and respect the busy lives that our residents have, and figure out how to get to that listening tour. We've got to get to something that the vast majority of this community can embrace, and I'm ready to do that right this time.
Thank you, Jeannie. And Lynette.
Thank you. I think definitely we need to clearly identify and prioritize our programs. That way we can determine and have a plan for the right size and right amount of costs that we are planning for. Until we do that, we're not going to be able to move forward. I think we need to definitely look at best practices that we can look at, like our neighboring town of Los Altos Hills. We have to look at how others have succeeded in outreach. They use multiple outreach methods. Online surveys is one identified, pop-up polling centers is another, knocking on doors, walking downtown, drop in on community centers, and show 3D models. Everyone identified some of the great ideas that we can do, but the problem is we need to do it. We can't just say we're going to do it, we need to do it. Definitely, I think what would be helpful if we had a comprehensive facilities plan. We need to identify not only that we're going to update our facilities in downtown Los Altos, we need to know that all our other facilities are going to be well taken care of and what's going to happen. I think this will be helpful to other members of the community that not all the money will be spent at one facility center. So I think it's important to pay attention to all our deteriorating facilities and address all of that. So that's why a comprehensive facility plan will be helpful as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynette. So back to downtown. There's been a lot of discussion over the years about how we want our downtown to look. There are some people that say we should stick with our village image and have things small and one story, and economic issues in recent years prompted some easing of zoning that allowed for some larger developments on the periphery of the downtown triangle, only to draw some ire from some people who said this ain't the village. So from each of your standpoints, what do you want to see the downtown look like? Do you want to see a village preservation look? Do you like it the way it is now? Do you think there should be room for more larger, denser development, commercial development, even residential? With these thoughts in mind, I'll circle around and let's see. We'll start with Nisa.
So the council recently hired a visioning consultant, and the consultant has been directed to do a few things. One is to engage the community and figure out, just like what you're asking, what does the community want to see downtown? What is their vision of downtown? The consultant will also be looking at similar communities to see if we could borrow and learn from their downtowns. And I think those two are very important. Because right now, as you said, and as many of us know, if you talk to 50% of Los Altans, they will say they do not want any development downtown, and if you talk to the other 50%, they want a lot of development. I think we're going to need to have balanced, smart development downtown, where we do need to increase the vibrancy downtown. It will benefit the entire community by doing so. I know a lot of residents want more vibrancy, but we also have to balance that with the charm, the village character and charm that you mentioned, because that's important to me. That's important to a lot of residents in Los Altos, and that's one of the reasons why we all move there and still live there. We do not want to be in a city where it's overrun with traffic and it's overcrowded. And so if there's a way to balance vibrancy with more things downtown, more restaurants and shops and mixed use and offices, but at the same time preserving that charm, I think that's what Los Altans want for downtown. So I look forward to the results of this visioning project. And I would encourage, and I'm already doing that, for residents to really participate and communicate what they want to see downtown. As part of that visioning process too, council will need to take the results, vet it, manage it, and implement it, and also revise and update any building and zoning codes necessary to reflect that visioning for downtown. Because one of the issues in the past is that we don't have clear zoning and building codes about what downtown should look like.
Thank you,
and so it's
Lisa.
very important for us to do that as part of the process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Steve.
Well, you know, in my intro, I talked about we want to try to protect the village character of Los Altos, but I think we all know that Los Altos has to grow, and it will grow. So we talked about growing smartly. Greentown put on a nice presentation a couple weeks ago called Sustainable Cities. And in that, I think I saw a vision of what Los Altos could be, with your wider sidewalks, areas that have bike lanes downtown where families can come and walk downtown. So I think a part of that visioning is looking at what we could have a complete street, which was also talked about in the presentation, where we need to get the families walking downtown, again, to make a city that's has the vision that we want. That's it.
Great. Okay, Alex.
Downtowns throughout the country have a certain benchmark. You have a certain number of retail, certain number of restaurant, a certain number of office space, certain number of people in walking distance. a certain amount of parking. Our downtown doesn't fit the benchmark of a successful downtown. It is not vibrant and it's not going to be vibrant. If we don't do something, we will lose our warm and cozy downtown also. At $20 million an acre, people will build every inch they can on those lands, and the current codes allow them to build square boxes or rectangular boxes. That's what we're going to get. We need to preempt this and address it. What makes a city cozy or a street cozy are, as been mentioned, wider streets, but also articulation, choice of materials, the amount of sunlight, daylight planes, noise accumulation, and wind patterns. These are all the things that make a good downtown. We should think about having an architectural review board to help review what is built downtown. We may want to think about having a commission for what goes on downtown that can augment the Planning Commission and the Traffic Commission. We don't want downtown to be known as Box Town, because that's what it will become based upon the economic pressures that exist. I like the downtown to have a warm feel. I think going forward, we need to preserve the quietness of the neighborhoods, but we need to improve upon downtown, and that's one of the areas that 20 years from now we'll be able to say, yes, it's better than it was, and it will take 20 years to develop it properly.
Great, thank you. Jeannie.
Boy, what we want in our downtown, I think we're going to find as we embark upon this visioning exercise is that we're basically, as residents, going to be all over the map. I believe that the contract that we just signed with this consulting firm and all the resources they're bringing, because it's actually bringing 3 different firms to the table, is going to give us that opportunity to deal with things such as look and feel, which often is described as character. It'll allow us to bring in the realities of economics, and it'll allow us to look at circulation and parking issues all together. We believe we're going to come up with 3 to 4 scenarios, and I believe we're going to be able to get through building those scenarios, but more importantly, testing those scenarios. And VTA, which I serve on the board for, did an extremely interesting exercise. We did this micro site that allowed our residents in the entire region to go in and say, how would you make these trade-offs? If economic vitality means you have to bring up the height, how far would you go? What are the trade-offs that you would want? And I see that's what we're going to be able to do so that our residents can participate in a very active way and deal with the challenges that any of us as council members will be faced with, was what are those trade-offs, how would they make them, so that we can get something that works for all of us. So I'm looking forward to this project as we're getting really close to kick it off. And again, I would encourage everybody to please participate at the level that you feel most comfortable. And I'm thinking really positive, and I'm also hoping that we're going to bring a lot of creativity into this. It's not about our building heights only and our zoning. It's about what kind of placemaking we want, et cetera. So everybody, let's get into this one together.
Thank you, Jeannie. How about you, Lynette? What do you think?
Okay, definitely. We have a beautiful downtown, and definitely we can help to make it a more thriving downtown. We have to find the right formula, though. I definitely will fight to maintain the village character, and to do so, the visioning process will help. It's one step, but I still feel we can do more. The other thing that we need to do is to revisit our general plan. We have a general plan that's really old, and I think we can look at our neighboring, some other cities nearby, such as Burlingame, Los Gatos, that have a clear general plan that provides direction for all involved. It's really helped to develop their downtowns to bring forth a nice mix of both commercial as well as with restaurant. I know that Mountain View is a very vibrant downtown, but I think people may not want all restaurants. So having a nice balance within our downtown would be great. Also, it was demonstrated that having some green space downtown was very inviting. We want to make sure that our downtown is a place that people want to come. It's easy to access and, to draw people, something that everyone wants to attend and socialize and be around. So we got to look at other successful cities who have great plans in place, and we can continue to model that. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynette. And Janice.
Janice, who's that? Okay. So the downtown, what do we want it to look like? Do we want to keep the village? Do we want more residential? What do we want there? And so I also am looking forward to this visioning process that we're going through right now, where we're going to come up with a few different scenarios. We're going to have the input that our Downtown Buildings Committee came up with feed into that. The input from the Parking Committee will also feed into that. I think one of the things we need to think about is retail. You know, just like with parking, are we going to be in self-driving cars in the future? How is retail changing? And I'm really looking forward to the economic analysis to understand that. Because my kids buy everything online. They don't go to stores. They go to stores to return the stuff that they bought online. So is that what our stores want to be? So we need to really figure out, what kind of retail can survive in the downtown, and it's such a family-friendly place. You go there for the pet parade or for the Easter egg hunt. It's a safe place for the kids to be. Parents feel safe having their kids running around, and it's just a really nice coming out. So I think we really want to try to maintain that feel where it's safe, feels safe, and it is safe, that we have it be a people and bicycle-oriented place as opposed to a place that's comfortable for cars. And you know, we'll see what all of the visioning brings forward, and that we also have architecture that is really fits in with our community and that makes the buildings look nice, not feel big and massive and overwhelming. So I think it remains to be seen where we come out on this, and as Jeannie said, let's have everyone participate in this visioning exercise.
Great, thank you, Jan. City leadership. What is your impression of the current leadership, and what would you like to do to change it, if necessary? So this also has to do with staff as well as council. Let's start off with you, Jeannie.
So first of all, the form of governance that we have in the City of Los Altos is called council manager form of governance. In order for us to be effective as a leadership team, and I do believe that it is a team effort, we have to have a strong city manager in place with a strong team underneath that city manager. And we also need to have the policymakers operating at the policy level in terms of our council members. I believe we have taken some steps over this last year. As mayor, I helped to oversee the hiring of a new city manager, and I believe we've taken care of one part of this equation to get us into a stronger position. From a council point of view, I think that we need to make sure that we're all, when we're operating, we operate in terms of challenging the ideas. It's okay to attack the ideas, but it's not okay to attack the individuals, the people. And so I think we need to, in all of our energy and our zeal to try and move things forward, I think we need to operate at all levels with respect. So staff, respect of colleagues, respect of all members of our community. I think a strong leader also takes advantage of the diversity of the skill set. We are lucky because we have 5 council members, and whoever the next 5 council members are going to be, guaranteed you're going to have diversity in what we bring and how we all operate. I think as my year in the mayor, I've looked at how we leverage the talents that we have on council and to lead with the people that can help set the tone on various things that are of particularly interest to them. So I think we have to work as a team. This is a team sport. It's not about what I'm going to do, it's what we can do together. And you'll always hear me refer to what we have accomplished, not what I have accomplished. in the spirit of leadership and strong team to move things forward.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Jeannie. I'll get you two straight one of these days. All right, so Jan, what do you think?
Actually, my name's Janice. But it's okay. What's your full name? Is it just Bruce? Okay.
Brucey.
Brucey. Okay, Brucey. So my impression of city leadership, the staff, as well as the council. So it is a team effort, and certainly the council needs to work together as a team. When you're running for council, it's easy to say, I want to do this, I want to do that, but then a majority of the council has to get on board with that and work as a team to make things happen. So, you know, if I'm allowed to be on council for the next 4 years again, if I get reelected, I'd like to be serving with other council members who are open to new ideas, who are willing to listen, who are confident in themselves that they aren't threatened by new ideas or different ways of doing things. And that's what I think is really important for us to do. I'm very excited about the new city manager that we have on board. I believe he brings a lot of experience to our town. He's been a city manager before in a town similar to ours, and I think he's demonstrated already that he's going to move things forward and that we can get things done, that he won't be hesitant to do things, but he'll certainly check in with the council, but where he has the ability to affect change that benefits the community, that he will do that. So I'm very excited about that. And there's other new directors coming in under his management. So I think we can be very optimistic about the new leadership that we have in the community. Thank you.
Stephen.
You know, when I assess leadership, I look at values such as integrity, accountability, respect, and trust. When I'm out canvassing the neighborhoods, part of the questions that I ask out there is, how do you think our city council is doing now? How do you think our city staff is doing now? And there's doubts out there. They doubt some of the values that I just talked about. They doubt the accountability, they doubt the integrity, and they have a trust factor. So I think, whatever council members are elected this time, I think that should be one of the main priorities, to instill that trust and respect and accountability back to the community.
Okay, Alex?
Starting with the staff, I think the staff are generally in a tough spot. Los Altos isn't considered a great place to work as a city because it doesn't lead to a better job. We need better training for our staff. They need to be so good that anybody in the country would want to hire them away from us. That's how we want to treat our staff. They need a lot of stuff we don't give them. The facilities are a start. If you go into the city hall and building department, there are probably 15 people sitting there listening to every conversation at the counter, and there could be 3 people at the counter. It's not a productive environment, and people are doubled up in cubicles. Nobody would run a company like this expecting to do well. On the other hand, yes, they do need to be held to standards. If you look at the orchard in front of the city hall, half the trees are dead. If that was my garden, I would fire the gardener. Probably somebody should be fired over that. So it cuts both ways, but we need to do some of the basic things much better in this city. With regard to council, we need to vet and debate, and we need to do it civilly and professionally. I testify a lot as an expert. I'm used to being crucified by attorneys with the video running and transcripts going. It's not the easiest thing to do to have everything you say be questioned, but this is the process we're in, and we need to be courteous and professional about it. Otherwise, we won't be able to work together. You need to be open-minded, and you do need to listen. It may not be the idea that you presented that gets through, but an idea needs to get through. To set the tone, I'd like to say, if elected, I'd be happy to serve with each and every one of you. The council needs to engage with the 100 or so non-elected leaders in town to really get enough momentum to move things forward, and they need to engage with the commissions accordingly.
Great. Thank you, Alex. Lynette?
Well, definitely, I think our leadership needs to be collaborative. We need to be able to work professionally together to be able to move things forward. I feel that my experience as a park commissioner for 11 years demonstrates that. Being on the grand jury for 2 terms, working with 19 people, coming to consensus on reports and direction has demonstrated that. But I also have to remember who I'm working for. I think it's important to remember who we're working for. We're public servants, and we represent our residents. So I think it's not only about being in city council and having that title, it's remembering who we're serving. And yes, I work based on facts, and I do my homework. Everyone knows that when I have put programs forward, I have been successful working with many of the former councils. So I've worked with the city council. We've got a new parks master plan. When we worked on the as a recreation commission, we modernized the playground equipment. We implemented internet access in all our recreational facilities, and I've also launched the first senior commission. So yes, it's important, but it's also important to have leadership that can help our commissions to move forward as well. So we as a council need to work together, and we as a council need to work with our commissions. And we also have to remember who we're working for. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynette. Misa.
The city council is a legislative body. And so in order to get anything done, you need at least 3 votes. And so it's very important that you know how to work together, collaborate, and most importantly, respect each other. Because I can guarantee, I don't know who will get elected in November, but we won't always agree. If I'm fortunate enough to be elected, we won't always agree on everything. But we need to be able to respect each other. So if I am fortunate enough to be elected, I am committing to working with my fellow members, identifying common ground, and moving issues forward to resolution that would be in the best interest of Los Altos. I also think it's important that you get to know each other as council members. I serve on the Parks and Rec Commission, and we just had a retreat. It was suggested by another commissioner a few months ago, and we did it this past Saturday. And it was very successful. And so if I am elected, I will encourage, as part of the annual City Council retreat, that we build in a true team building exercise where you get to know each other. Maybe it's already done, but I think we can improve upon that, because having those core underlying relationships is very helpful to working together. The city manager level, we need a strong leader. And I know we recently hired Chris Jordan, and it sounds like he's doing a great job. But as a city manager, we need to make sure that it's someone who will manage but also motivate staff. Because city staff, they need to be motivated, they need to be properly managed, they need to be trained. And that is up to the city manager to do that. And so as a council, we need to make sure that we're putting the right person in that position to carry out whatever direction council gives the manager and ensure that staff carries it out as well. And I think it's a combination of things that we would need to do as a council to ensure that happens. We as a council can also follow up. So for example, if we give direction to the city manager or a director to complete something by a certain date, as a council, I think it's our responsibility to follow up, set clear deadlines, and ensure that they're being met. Thank you.
Thank you, Misa. Do we have time for one more question before closing arguments? Okay, closing statements. All right, so as you know, there are some of the toughest problems and toughest solutions to address those problems are regional in scope. That can't be solved in Los Altos alone. So that requires good relations with surrounding cities. Do you feel that the city of Los Altos is doing a good job with reaching out to other cities to discuss common issues, or could there be some more improvement in that area? For instance, with the city of Mountain View, to talk about some of the growth and its impact in Los Altos. Let's see, who would like to start? Lynette?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I definitely think there could be a better job done in working collaboratively with other cities. we definitely need to enhance communication with our neighboring cities. We need to understand, like you said, the impact of the high density that impacts our school district in our city. So definitely we have to open up more lines of communication with our neighboring cities. I think it also creates more opportunities for collaboration on programming such as shuttles or even busing for our students. I think we also need to look at opportunities of collaboration, as mentioned by Jan, to see how we can work with Los Altos Hills for our community center. I think definitely there is interest in shared parks that they utilize as well, like Redwood Grove, and we all care for such treasures such as that. So we definitely need to open up channels of communication with our neighboring cities. We can do a better job, and there's more opportunities that we can gain from it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeannie?
So working at the regional level is something that I have committed myself to for 4 years, and I believe I have been extremely successful in becoming a major voice, not only for Los Altos, which is very important, but more importantly is to really look at North County and West Valley as a whole in a couple of areas. So let me back up a little bit and first talk about clean energy. I was very supportive of us moving forward with clean energy. I wanted a slightly different approach than some of my colleagues. I wanted us to work it at the regional level where we all have a voice versus looking at a privatization solution. We have that in place. It is an exceptional board that we have. I serve on the board as a Los Altos representative, and I can tell you, it is the most collaborative effort from day one. Also, in transportation, since January of 2013, I was assigned to VTA, to the Policy Advisory Commission. From there, I've made my way up to the board. I joined the board in October of 2015, and in January of 2016, I was elected by my colleagues to serve as the vice chair and in position to be the chair next year should I be re-elected to the Los Altos City Council. I have worked very collaboratively with all of my colleagues. We have formed a coalition, and in that we have now operate at the VTA level as a single voice, stopping what we were doing before, where we gave opportunities. If we don't agree with one another, it gives opportunities for the larger players in Silicon Valley, such as San Jose, to step in and work that to our disadvantage. So I have been very effective in this area. There's more work to be done. I'm working and have been invited into a lot of different areas, such as homelessness, an effort that is being led by Mountain View, knowing that we share borders, that we're working collaboratively from day one.
Thank you, Jeannie.
So yes, it's important.
Thank you. Nisa?
Thank you. I agree, it's very important. I'm fortunate enough to have the experience of working for Santa Clara County for over 9 years. And so I understand the importance of interacting and how the process works between cities, counties, and even at the state level. We have several regional boards that representatives from city council sit on, and they work with other city council representatives and sometimes county representatives. And those are great opportunities for us to share our concerns, compare notes essentially where we learn from each other, because we're all serving the same general area. You know, the three main areas I think where we do need to collaborate and make sure that we're working together: traffic/transportation, housing, and the more recent jet noise issue that we've all been talking about. One of my main goals is to be a voice for Los Altos on regional issues, and it involves those three issues, but it also involves looking at funding opportunities. If there are funding opportunities related to traffic or transportation or even housing, I want to make sure that Los Altos is at that table, and Los Altos is also receiving a portion of that funding that reflects our needs. You know, we have a lot of growth going on right now in Silicon Valley, which is impacting Los Altos. And so we need to reach out to the other cities and city council members to see if there are ways that we can work together to address it, and not just do it, as members of a board, but do it informally. Have that open communication and dialogue, because a lot of times the decisions that they're making as a city council may indirectly impact Los Altos. And so if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, I will reach out to those different public entities and leaders to work together. Thank you.
Nisa. Stephen.
Just to add on what Nisa was talking about, housing and traffic, I think she covered pretty clearly. But also the climate action plan, I think, is a perfect example where reaching out to regional partnerships is very important, not only working with the city departments and the city staff, but reaching out to community partners like Greentown, Los Altos Chamber of Commerce, the Los Altos Village Association, but also working with our partner agencies like Los Altos School District and the Santa Clara Valley Transportation, Santa Clara Valley Water District. Those are examples of reaching out. And again, the collaboration with all of those, I think, is very important and essential for success going forward.
Thanks, Stephen. Alex?
There are more organizations than we can successfully interface with, so we need to be very choosy and strategic about who we, as a council and as a city, engage with. The federal government, we don't have a lot of engagement with, but there are EPA requirements we need to be aware of, for example. And the California EPA, we can probably no longer flush storm drains into the bay given the conditions of our storm drain, and we may get a call from a large agency about that soon. Climate stuff, air quality, these are all regional and some state. There's 23 transit authorities, water boards, power utilities, as well as even the local school board. I've spoken with some of the school board members even about the complications there seem to be between the council and the school board. We just need to, in general, make sure that we have a consistent approach in working with the other organizations, and the ones that we really need to work with, we need to identify strategic initiatives and focus on them.
Thank you, Alex. Jan.
Thank you. Regional issues are very important, and one of the things that people don't see from council members is all of the time that we do spend working with regional agencies. And Jeannie touched on a lot of the transportation issues that we're dealing with here. We are part of the Cities Association of Santa Clara County, and I'm the representative there this year for Los Altos, and we meet regularly with all of the cities in Santa Clara County to discuss issues of importance and of common concern to us, such as the minimum wage ordinance that we just passed was something that came through the Cities Association. We're also part of the Santa Clara County Library District, and again, there's many cities that cooperate with the library district. We own the building, but as far as the management and operation of the library, we have input as to how that's being done. I'm also a member of the board of the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, and in that role I've worked with Cupertino to reduce the emissions from the Lehigh cement plant, which spews its air above us as it's making cement. So there's a lot of opportunities to work collaboratively with our fellow cities. And not only do I know the council reps from Santa Clara County, but in my job right now, I have a board that consists of council members from every city in San Mateo County. So many of the cities in San Mateo County are actually very similar to Los Altos in size and as far as their emphasis on residential. And so there's the opportunity there to learn from them and bring good ideas that have worked there here. But I think we can do more. I think we should meet regularly with the Los Altos Hills City Council. We should have joint meetings with the Mountain View City Council. And that hasn't been done enough, and that's something that I hope we would do more in the future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jan. Okay, it's time for closing remarks. So we will start in reverse alphabetical order with you, Steve Smiley.
Yes. All right. So just to kind of go over what I've already said before, I'm a long-time Los Altos resident and homeowner. I was married in Los Altos. I am raising my family here in Los Altos. My daughter attends the public school, and my wife and I plan to spend the rest of our lives and retire here in Los Altos. I am actively involved in community volunteering, both on executive boards and councils. I have a diverse education, BS in engineering, and Master's of Business Administration, and Juris Doctor of Law. Combined with my executive management experience has given me core strengths in communication, financial analysis, contractual expertise, decision-making, and leadership. I know City Council will be hard work and take a substantial amount of time. I earned my MBA and my JD while working full-time, so I know what dedication and hard work is. I have strength and desire to serve the community on City Council, and I want to use my core strengths and goals to provide leadership to make sure we protect the village character of downtown Los Altos and move forward smartly. I'm Steve Smiley, and I ask for your vote on November 8th, and I'm first on the ballot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephen. Jan.
Thank you. So as we've discussed tonight, I'd like to first quickly review what I've been able to accomplish the last 4 years, and then what I hope to accomplish the next 4 years, if you give me the honor of doing that. As we've discussed tonight, the open government ordinance, community engagement, environmentalism, we haven't talked about that a whole lot, but I supported the adoption of our climate action plan, the ban on single-use plastic bags, and our water conservation efforts. And I've been endorsed by the League of Conservation Voters and the Sierra Club. Next, I listened to residents, and because of this, the Los Altos Town Crier endorsed me this morning. Thank you. And I understand the concerns and pulse of this community. I listened to the people in South Los Altos and consistently opposed having the Stevens Creek Trail run down Fallen Leaf Lane, and we prevailed. And I listened to the seniors and consistently supported keeping and strengthening the Senior Commission, and we prevailed on that. I'm thoughtful and conscientious in preparing for council meetings. And so what about the next 4 years? I want to continue to promote the qualities of integrity and transparency, which is essential for good government. I'd like to do more in community engagement, working to formalize some neighborhood associations and getting out there where the council members and the staff meet with you in the neighborhoods to talk about the Los Altos Prepare program, and the Neighborhood Watch programs reach 100% of our community. Downtown visioning, let's put together a holistic plan that looks at both the downtown and the community and the civic center together. That's always been a priority of mine. Complete streets, we've talked about that, looking at bicycles, pedestrians, and autos all at the same time to make sure that our streets are safe for everyone, no matter what mode of transportation they're using. Affordable housing, it's a great place to live here in Los Altos, but it's unaffordable to most people. Let's make sure our community is economically diverse. And then fiscal responsibility. We're starting to look at a 10-year financial plan that outlines all the capital expenditures. Thank you. I hope you support me. Jan Pepper.
Alex.
I believe in civic duty. Currently, I serve as Vice Chair of the Design Review Commission, which has reinforced in my mind the uniqueness and value that people place on their neighborhoods and, in fact, sometimes their own backyards. The Council must preserve that while still managing the regional growth and pressures that accompany it. The Council's top objectives should be, first, foster civic participation on key issues, secondly, make good management decisions, and thirdly, communicate cross-laterally and outwardly. The Council must engage with the 100 or so non-elected leaders in the city to develop this consensus on big issues. We need a long-term strategic plan for the city that guides the smaller decisions that we make on a weekly and monthly basis. The Council must listen to each other, and they must seek out and truly value the input from the community. Good decisions require information. We need to build consensus using modern tools I've spoken of. These are just tools, but they will allow us to get more neighborhood involvement, and we can drive participation as needed. Los Altos isn't apathetic, they're just very busy. We can't have the same 100 people in all the surveys or showing up for the meetings, though. Now, our staff, I think, needs additional training, and we need better resources for the staff to be more efficiently use this human resource that we also have in the city. We can engage consultants to implement our plans, but not to tell us what to do. Along with old-fashioned listening and modern tech methods that we should know in the Silicon Valley, we can develop plans for downtown and parks and traffic, building heights, all the issues that we're facing. But we need a better process also. With consensus, we can make the 18 acres and the downtown truly a wonderful experience to enhance upon what we have in Los Altos. Please vote for me, Alex Glue. I want to make this a better Los Altos.
Thanks, Alex. Okay, so Nisa, you're up.
Thank you, Bruce. First, let me thank you, Bruce, for being such a wonderful moderator, and KMTV again for hosting us. As I mentioned at the beginning, I am running because I believe I have the right experience and energy to be an effective leader on council. Now, we've discussed many issues today, actually jotted them down: traffic safety, building bridges, the Civic Center, affordable housing, regional issues, Loyola Corners, city management, community engagement, and maintaining the charm and character of Los Altos. All very important issues that the next council will need to make decisions on. Based on my experience as a leader, an attorney, and someone who's able to collaborate successfully and work with different groups, I believe I will add value to council and be an effective leader. I will work with the other members on council to identify common ground to move issues forward. I will engage and listen to the community, all corners of Los Altos, to make sure their voices are heard and their interests are represented on council. I will also take a lead role in building bridges in Los Altos where necessary. I'm fortunate enough to have the endorsement of the town crier as well, the Los Altos Chamber of Commerce, the Realtors Group, 8 former Los Altos mayors, 2 sitting school board trustees, 2 trustee-elects, Supervisor Simidian, Senator Hill, and there are others. And I'm very proud to have these endorsements because they also recognize that I have the experience to be effective on council and to work well with the other council members. I respectfully ask for your vote. I would be honored to serve Los Altos. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Nisa. All right, Lynette.
Thank you. Thank you, Bruce, and thank you all. I have a proven track record of turning ideas into reality. I don't give up. When I pushed to establish the summer concert series, council said no, but I persisted. Working with staff and council, we now have 8 concerts every summer enjoyed by 8,000 people, young and old. When I went to the Cupertino Union School District to request a new alternative program, they said no. Again, I persisted, working with the district, teachers, and parents. We now have one of the best Mandarin immersion programs in Silicon Valley. When I wanted to start it, the Senior Commission, as well as the Senior Center at Grant Park, they said no. Once again, I persisted. And now we have a well-established senior center providing programs, speakers, and a safe place for seniors to socialize. For these efforts, I have been recognized as an Asian American hero by the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors. But the biggest honor and reward for me is to see the joy in all the people's faces enjoying and taking part in the programs today. Serving 2 terms on the Santa Clara Civil Grand Jury was a challenge because 19 members had to agree on direction and reports. As a team player, I worked to bring people together to build consensus based on facts. We effected significant changes in fiscally responsible areas and fiscal responsibility, transparency, and local governance. The experience gave me the knowledge, insight, and skills to make needed changes at the local level. So I would be honored to have your vote. So please remember Lynette Lee Eng, and together we can get things done.
Thank you, Lynette. And Jeannie.
So in closing, I would like to outline a couple of my goals as well as some of what I've learned in terms of serving on the City Council and having been in the shoes of a lot of my colleagues up here running for the first time. So first, in terms of the goals, we covered that in the very first question, but the one thing that I think is really going to make a difference for Los Altos is us putting together this 10-year plan to allow us to have a roadmap. You heard tonight all these wonderful ideas. We're not short on ideas and opportunities to continue to invest in Los Altos. We just need to make sure we have the means and we have the discipline to carry out the plans that we develop. So a 10-year plan, again, financial resources that are available as well as the personnel to deal with day-to-day operational, the capital improvements, and the long-term strategic directions we want to go. I have a proven track record, and I have the energy, I have the time, and I have the linkages at the regional level. Los Altos is active in a lot of things on the regional level that we have not been active on before, and I think that is really important that we continue that momentum. Like my colleagues, I have a lot of endorsements, but in terms of on the higher level of pulling people together, I've been endorsed by Rich Gordon. I've been endorsed by 3 of the county supervisors, Joe Simidian, Cindy Chavez, and Ken Yeager, and a number of other people in terms of our leaders and past and current, past council members, and mayors. So in terms of what I've learned from being a candidate and being eager and thrilled and energetic is, first of all, serving on council is a team sport. It is not about moving our own individual agendas or that of any one group. Leadership is about building collective strength, working with and through others. It is about creating an environment where we can meet the needs of generations in a harmonious way. We need to listen to all voices, from the loud ones who always are participating to those who are whispering.
Wrap it up, Jeannie.
From organized groups to individuals. Oftentimes, the best answer or solutions are not the ones we started with, but instead the ones that are born out of working collaboratively and respectfully.
Thank you, Jeannie.
I ask for your vote in November.
Thank you very much. And that just about wraps it up for tonight's KMVT Los Altos Council Candidates Forum. So I thank all the council members, council candidates for their participation, and we'll see how the election goes. All the best to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Remember to vote on November 8th.
Or by mail.
Or by mail, yes, that's right. Thanks for watching.
The preceding program was co-sponsored by KMVT, the Friends of Los Altos, and the Community Center Alliance.